knew something was going to go off. Freaking. God damn it. Okay, I'm not sure if you guys could see that, but yeah, UI bug on my recording software. So, this is going to be a little bit of a different stream. I'm pretty sure by now you've probably noticed the stream's title, Getting Started, StarCitizen Part 1. So, I have decided to do a live recording of some videos explaining how to get started in StarCitizen, because I know it can be a little labyrinthian to new players, and I have heard some horror stories about the tutorial. So here is my version of a tutorial. So first things first, when you boot up StarCitizen, you'll find yourself here at the main menu. The screens in the background are quite pretty, if you ask me. The first thing you're going to want to do is hit Persistent Universe. Now, when you do this, you will have to select a primary residence. I strongly suggest picking somewhere in Stanton. The place that I'm going to be starting at in Stanton today is called Orzen on Crusader. So, assuming that you don't need a walkthrough on customizing your character, and you definitely do not want somebody telling you how to make yourself look, we're just going to dive right in. Now, this whole position in queue thing is perfectly normal. It just means that it's sifting through the various game servers that it's... Bleh. Okay, I just completely fudged that. Setting in a waiting queue just means that it's looking for an open server to put you in. So it's not like the game is overloaded or there's an inavailability of servers. I mean, you saw how quickly I got in there. So, big thing about StarCitizen, by the way, is if you didn't already know this, StarCitizen was deliberately made to function on a solid-state drive. That is a SSD. Hard drive disk or old-school HDDs are just inadequate. Like, frankly, not worth it. If you don't have the space on an SSD to install StarCitizen, I hate to tell you this, but you're going to have a really bad time trying to play it on an HDD. Like, you can have the best graphics and the best processing, but if you put this game on an HDD, it's going to run like crap. Big part of that is that StarCitizen takes advantage of the speed of data call on an SSD. So, yeah. Anywho, we have now spawned in. So, welcome to Crusader. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do when you get into StarCitizen is A, get out of bed. Pretty sure most of you can sympathize with that. And, oh yeah, if you don't want to have hernias, or you're not in the mood for giggles, political disappointment, or any other number of random things that could pop up in a public chat, you can press F12 to bring this little chat on the side up, or put it away. I personally recommend putting it away, because I always get a hernia watching these guys talk about this, that, and the next thing over and over and over again. So, where are we? This is called a hab. In StarCitizen, habs are scattered throughout the verse as a little place where players spawn. In the future, you'll be able to rent your own hab and basically use it as more of a permanent living dwelling. But for now, it's essentially just a fancy spawn closet. Most habs are equipped with a terminal that looks a little bit like this. This is called your inventory access. They give it a fancy name, but yeah. So you open it up and it gives you your local inventory. I'm presently not wearing anything that has inventory space, but if I were, you would see an additional inventory come up here. So You can filter through anything that you want here, and also you can move it to your inventory by moving it across. It's fairly simple, it's straightforward, and we'll cover that more later. For now, let's get a move on. So, you've started Star Citizen, and the first thing you want to do is get to your ship. So, let's do that. Now, landing zones can be a little difficult to navigate, but one general rule of thumb is that there's always signage. So, when... Oh, pardon me, a little gassy. So, I strongly recommend, in Star Citizen or any other game, to take it slow, don't rush things, and for the love of God, take your finger off the shift key. You do not need to be sprinting everywhere, especially when you're new to a game. So, most elevators, by the way, they will put their ground floor in a special button at the bottom of the screen, just above the button that opens the doors for you. So, we are now in the green circle lobby. To get to the starport from here, we hang a left, and come along this hallway to the end of the door here. Now, most landing zones are split up into sections. At the time of recording, the typical amount of sections in a landing zone usually include a habitat area, a industrial area, and usually a starport. So, what does that mean, you ask?
For passengers, the shuttle is preparing.
Oh, that's good timing. So, what does that mean, you ask? Well, in a habitat area, you've usually got your basic shops, the habs, and there's also the medical center. In a industrial area is usually the more vigorous shops, things like ship sails and heavy duty gear, stuff like that. It's also where it's also where like special services might be located. There is then, of course, the starport areas where you can call your ship. Some places have additional zones. For example, a planet called Hurston has the Central Business District. So we'll get onto that later, but for now, the three basic ones you need to know about are your habs, your industrial, and your starport areas. So this is August Dunlow Spaceport, which is Crusaders starport.
The next shuttle is approaching the station. Approaching next station. If this is your stop, please prepare to disembark. Last call for passengers.
So that noise there was a little bit of sound propagation issue, but that was the sound of somebody spooling up their engines and getting a move on. You'll hear that a lot around starports.
Enjoying the view?
Always remember, Star Citizen is technically the equivalent to an early access game on Steam.
With their signature crystal canopies.
Oh, here's another one of those storage access terminals. You will find these littered pretty much all over the place. They give you access to your local inventory, just like the ones in the habs. So, one thing I see a lot of people complaining about is that the elevators are broken, quote unquote. Elevators being broken is kind of a touchy subject. Some people say they are, some people say they aren't, and I'm about to cough my lungs up. 1 sec. This is what I get for streaming first thing after I wake up. So, when it comes to elevators, just be patient. Give it maybe 5, 10, 15 seconds. And if you don't hear the elevator arrive, feel free to give the button another tap. If you do hear the elevator arrive, but the doors don't open, give the button another tap anyway. That will prompt it to open its doors. When you're in an elevator, the last thing you want to do is, well, farewell frame rate, my old friend. The last thing you want to do in an elevator is push it. Like, you don't really want to be, like, jostling anything or, engaging in any tomfoolery or anything like that, because the elevators are a legacy system. They're up for rework. What that means for Star Citizen is the company plans to change the way internal transit works. That includes like the shuttle you saw me riding, the elevators, all of it. Alrighty, so I'm about to show you the way you get your initial ship. And these are called ASOP terminals.
Welcome to the ASOP
Don't ask me
vehicle
what ASOP
retrieval
means.
system.
I don't know. I don't think anyone does. So, having gotten Star Citizen, you will have gained access to a starter ship. A starter ship comes with every game package. What starter ship you get, it varies depending on the package you picked up. I, for this video series, have picked up a Origin 135C to take the place of a starter ship.
Vehicle selected. Stand by.
It's taken a minute.
Your vehicle has been delivered to the following location.
Alright, so
Please visit us again.
it is
Goodbye.
perfectly normal for the ASOP terminals to take a little while to respond. Like I said, they're among several other things in Star Citizen, they are legacy systems that are up for rework. So now that I have called my ship, we're going to go to our hangar. Now, this is a player instanced hangar, and it hasn't spawned my ship. Okay. Correction, it has spawned my ship, it's just not on the elevator. So, little bugs like this are fairly common in Star Citizen. Now, here's one of the reasons why I think that me making these tutorial series is a good idea. Pardon me. What a lot of players don't understand when they get into Star Citizen for the first time is that Star Citizen is in active development. Like I said before, it's the equivalent to an early access game on Steam.
Welcome to
That
the
means
ASOP
that
vehicle
there are
retrieval
systems
system.
that don't work, there are systems that aren't implemented yet, and there are systems that are in infant development, which means that whereas technically they're online, they're not complete. So I am going
Your
to
vehicle has been moved to our storage
hopefully
facility.
store my ship.
Please visit us again.
Like,
Goodbye.
working with these ASOP terminals can be like eldritch magic at times, but the majority of the time they work perfectly well. So, interesting thing about the hangars, we have this like big fun animation, like the platform will go down and the doors will close. Anybody who's played X4 will be quite at home with these things.
Welcome
So now that the
to the
doors are
ASOP
closed,
vehicle retrieval system.
I am going to find my ship and hit
Your
retrieve.
vehicle has been delivered to the following location. Please
So
visit us
now
again.
it should bring my ship up on the pad. That's probably a good thing that this actually happened, because this is what you would normally do to get your ship. So you'd come to your hangar, go to your ASOP terminal. Don't jump in there, by the way. The game devs won't stop you from jumping in there. It's your choice, but it will probably kill you. Anyway, like I was saying, most of your time in Star Citizen will be spent in space, but the rest of that time will probably be spent in a hangar. So, here is a ship. Now, ships in Star Citizen are currently in a bit of a scattered state of development. Some of them are very old, some of them are very new. The Origin 100, or the 100 series, should I say, is a little on the old side. In Star Citizen, there's a little term that the devs like to throw around called the gold standard. Now, the gold standard refers to ships that meet the current development expectations for the game's progress in development. So, what does that mean, you ask? Basically, take the 100i here, for example. Right now, this ship lacks a few of the modern systems that the game is going to be implementing. Now, ships can be upgraded to gold standard, which means that they get those systems installed and they can become a lot more usable and a lot more friendly with the game's current systems. For now, though, I am going to have to make do with a ship that doesn't meet gold standard. So this will be an example of how you don't exactly need to worry about that. So as you can see here, the ship has this neat little cargo bay in the back here. So looks like according to this, it's SU4, and that looks about right. I could probably get about 2 SU2s or 1 SU1 crate in here. But let's move on. So, how to get into your ship. Most ships usually have a little holo on them that shows you where to get in. So, usually ramp access, ladder, elevator, something like that. You'll see a holo like that one somewhere on your ship. For larger ships, it can be a bit more difficult. You might have to find the right spot to access the interact. They're still working on systems like that. But for now, all we need to know is where the little door control button is. Oh, pardon me. So the game is full of neat little things like this, all these like fun little animations, and the ship is like really well made. That's Origin for you. So the 100i is made by the in-game company Origin Jumpworks. They are very big on luxury, touring, exploration, that sort of thing. Adjust my seat. Okie dokie. Let's turn on the power.
Origin Jumpworks at your service.
I know it looks like I just turned off the power, but so operating your ship systems is fairly easy. The first thing you want to do is hit the U key, as it says in the bottom right there. I'm not sure if you can read that or not based on my screen resolution. Anywho, we press the U key to toggle ship power.
Origin Jumpworks at your service.
So,
System operational.
thank you. So what this does is it brings your ship's systems online. This means you have access to your MFDs and you can fine-tune a number of your ship's basic systems. So that's all well and good. We've essentially turned the power plant on, but we're still stuck on the ground. So next thing you want to do is you want to turn on your engine systems. Now, the guide over on the right side of my screen there says thrusters. That is engine systems. Now, two ways you can do this. You can either press I on the keyboard, and the thrusters come on. Oh, there's a little graphic. And the thrusters will come online. So, the other way you can do this, if I just turn them back off again.
Engines active.
Frame rate.
Inactive.
The other way you can do this is with your power management MFD over here. So power management MFD is how you control power distribution. This is a little bit like the system in Elite Dangerous, only it's not so simplistic. In Elite Dangerous, you are balancing power. It's the same basic principle here in Star Citizen. So what you want to do is you want to take a quick look at your output. So right now, our power plant can put out a max of 15. And right now we are not using 4 out of that 15. So to turn on the engines, you go to this button at the bottom, click it, and there you go. Now, I'm going to be saying this a lot, but I'm sure you're asking, hey, how did you move your camera and bring up a cursor like that? Holding the F key is how you go into what's called interact mode. This works at basically any state in the game. It allows you to bring up a cursor and look around with it and interact with a lot of different systems that you will find in the game. Now, some ships have fancy little buttons all over the place that you can push, and it's, bordering on a sim-like touch cockpit with dials and buttons and flicky things. Some ships, on the other hand, have none of that. Me personally, I typically don't bother with it for the moment. It'll be a neat system when Star Citizen comes online fully and we hit the big 1.0, but for now, it's scattered state of development and they can be a little unreliable. So, next step in getting our Star Citizen career underway. We want to get out of this hangar. So, there are two ways to do this, as with most things. You can either cycle your MFD to communications, which is always to the left of power, and you can hit the hail button on the local landing services. Now, another way you can do this, which is a little quicker, and I know that you kids these days, you want to do things fast, you want to do things now. Another option you have is left Alt N, which automatically hails the local ATC. When you do that, as you can see, the hangar door begins to open. The hangar door isn't always going to be right in front of you, sometimes it can also be above you. But for now, we've got one in front of us. So, flying the ship is a relatively simple task. You've got space to go up, control to go down, and A and D is to strafe. A for left, D for right, obviously. Now, your mouse is what we call a V-joy. This means that your mouse is emulating the function of a HOTAS joystick. So you see how that little arrow is moving around on my screen? And my crosshair is following it. That is the V-joy at work. This allows players on a mouse and keyboard to compete with players who are using a HOTAS. So you won't have to worry about dragging your mouse across the screen and then picking it up, moving it, and dragging it again. You're not going to have to do anything like that in Star Citizen. So for now, let's get out of this hangar. Now, immediately you're going to want to bring up your gear.
Landing gear raised.
Which is done via the N key. Now, the N key has a number of functions, all revolving around landing and interaction with landing. Some places give you the option to hold the N key to initiate an automatic landing sequence. So, now that we are out of our hangar, I will talk you through some basic flight systems. Star Citizen has... Hello there! Star Citizen has a number of flight systems that take effect. There is ESP, coupled mode, VTOL, G-Safe, a whole bunch of different things. Now, my ship is currently operating on my personal preset on how to set all this up, which you can edit in real time in the game with the configuration MFD. It has a list of various abilities and ship systems that you can turn on and off. You can also configure different systems such as your gunnery preferences, what you have on your HUD, but this is, again, one of two ways of doing it. The other way to do it is to go into your options, your gameplay settings, and you see this list here of defaults. This occupies a small section in the game settings list. This is essentially everything that you'll find in that MFD, but it's permanent. When your ship is sent down into a hangar or stored or destroyed or whatever, your ship systems will often reset to what these defaults are set to. So if you find a configuration that you like, don't forget to update it here in your game settings. That way, every ship that you always spawn will always default back to these, so you'll always have your favorites. Now, we are airborne, so let's continue with basic flight instruction. Star Citizen typically starts most players off in what's called coupled mode. This means that your ship will always try to point towards your vector. How to demonstrate this? See that little ball there to the left of my heads-up display? In naval aviation terms, I believe they call that the meatball. Not 100% sure on that. I've always just called it the vector. So, as you'll see, the vector moves around my screen when I put thrust input into the game. Now, see how it is constantly returning to a set point. Right now, my ship is in coupled mode and it is trying to slow down. Because in coupled mode, your ship basically wants to come to a safe, stationary standstill. That is, of course, unless you give it thrust input. So, speed goes up, let go, speed goes down. You can overcome this, because I'm pretty sure you don't want to spend your entire time playing a space game holding W the whole time. This is not Call of Duty. What you can do is engage what's called cruise control mode. So with left Alt C, you can engage cruise control. Now you can see on my heads-up display a little marker with the letter C has popped up over my speed gauge there. For those of you with resolution issues, I will zoom in and show you. Once that is up, the ship will attempt to maintain whatever speed this is set to, and you can adjust its position by pressing and holding W or S until you've got it at a speed that you want it to be at. The ship will speed up or slow down until it reaches the designated cruise. It will also dynamically reallocate thrust power to make sure that it's always pursuing the vector. Now that we are moving forward, you will notice the vector is now following us instead of us following the vector. So this is how you get your basic flight going. It's a pretty easy system to get into. It makes your ship act a lot like a plane in a flight simulator. Of course, the caveat is that you can slow down as much as you want. You won't fall like a brick. I should note, by the way, I am doing this without a script, so please excuse me if I need to stop and think. Thingamajigger. What's next? Let's see. So we've got flight, we've got the hangar operation, we've got getting to your hangar. Let us take a crack at making some money, shall we? So in Star Citizen, there are quite a few ways to make money. The primary way that you can get to that is with your Mobi-Glass, which I just brought up with the F1 key. See? You can get to the contracts screen here and find a list of available work that you can do. Now, I am going to stick to the legal stuff, but if you want to do stuff that's on a more gray area, not necessarily illegal, but frequently illegal, you can switch over to unverified work. Now, this stuff is sketchy. If you're caught doing it, it will incur legal repercussions. And I need to take a drink. Give me 1 second. It did just occur to me, I just took a drink of Iron Brew, so if I suddenly burp, I swear I didn't do it on purpose. Anyway, I'm going to go back to verified contracts. So, when you first start out in Star Citizen, there's only a handful of jobs that you can actually do, because some of these jobs will require equipment. So let us pick out a job. Let's see. Got collection. We've got salvage. Word of warning about salvage. This is one of those things where you remember how I mentioned that like Star Citizen has little ways that you kind of have to do things that new players may not entirely be prepared for. Salvage is one of these red alerts. These are not worth it. 9 times out of 10, the amount of salvage that you get off of the ships that they are offering, it's barely worth the cost, unless you know what you're doing. So we will get into that later when I cover the salvaging career. For now, let's keep looking. Bounty Hunter is a interesting one for people who like combat. It's also one of the ones that you can get into with pretty much any ship. Caveat to them, of course, is that right now the difficulty curve is a little dodgy, so it can be a bit of a shoot or bleh. It can be a little bit of a hit or miss when it comes to picking these contracts. So don't be worried if you take a contract, try to do it, and fail. The repercussions to failure in Star Citizen are currently quite light. So let us pick out a basic mission. So verified bounty, leaf stanks, very low risk target, single seater craft, minimal support. So from this, I can determine that the, oh dear, Damar Cave. All right, so single seater craft, important tag to look out for. That tells you whether or not you're dealing with a ship that's only, like mine, it's a single seat operated vessel with no fancy gadgets or gizmos bolted on. It could also be multi-crew craft. That could mean that the ship is equipped with turrets, which can be a bit of a pain in the butt. So, primary objective is currently to go to Damar Cave. That is directing us to where this guy is currently hanging out. So, how do we get there? As you can see, it's telling us where the cave is. Now, the fun caveat to that is that's 58.5 megameters away. Anybody who's played KSP can tell you that's not a short distance. So we are going to need to take some extra steps to get there. First, let's take a look at the galaxy map and see where, or should I say star map, and see where exactly it is we're going. I can bring it up quickly by pressing F2. You can also bring it up from the bottom tabs here. So here's Crusader, this is where we are, and that little green icon there is us. We're currently sitting over Orzen. Oh, here's us. This is a cool feature of the map, by the way. When you zoom in, you can actually get a map of your local area. This works on landing zones and ships. So, good way to get yourself unlost if you've managed to become lost. So, we're going to zoom out a little, and now we can see the entire Crusader gravity well. As you can see, the target is on a moon called Damar, just like the objective said. Oh, pardon me, there's that Iron Brew kicking me in the butt. I'm going to zoom out real quick and show you the entire Stanton system. So, neat thing about Stanton is literally every single one of these POIs you can go to freely. There is no gating, there is no level zones, there is no progression system locking you out of going anywhere. In Star Citizen, you do what you want to do. Your only limit is your own personal skill. And no, I'm not talking about numbers that you can push up, like an RPG. I'm talking literal skill, what you have learned to do in the game. So, in order to get to Daymar, I am going to select it and plot a course. This locks in the travel system, which we call the quantum drive, and makes sure that it is quick and easy to get to. That way, we don't have to faff about visually finding where it is that we're supposed to go among a whole bunch of icons that would pop up. Instead, we've just got one icon, and it's where we're going. So, cool. We now know where we're going, and the ship does too. Problem, we're still here. In StarCitizen, at least at the time of recording anyway, there are two different ways to fly your ship. This is called the Master Mode system. You'll see right here, for those of you who can't see it, I will zoom in real quick. SCM. This is my Master Mode. Don't ask me to tell you what SCM means, I don't know. But the general gist of this is it's your combat mode. In SCM, you can have your shields up, you can have your weapons functional. But, problem, you can't engage your quantum drive. Your quantum drive is the way you travel long distances in this game. Now, to switch over to nav mode, which will enable me to use the quantum drive, I press and hold B.
Shield system inactive.
Hear that? Shields have gone offline. You can even see it over here in my power readout. When you go into nav mode, your shields will collapse, and you will not be able to engage the quantum drive if you have weapons or shields online. There's still power to my weapons, but at the moment they are currently disabled, so I would not be able to use my weapons either. However, the advantage is that now I have the quantum drive, which doubles as a travel drive and a sort of power plant, like auxiliary, and I've got all that power getting dumped to my engines. So I can royally zoom. Now, atmosphere will have a little bit of a drawback effect, and you may have noticed already that there's a little sign above my HUD saying disabled in atmosphere. That means that your quantum drive cannot function if it is too deep inside a planetary atmosphere. In order to get around this, all you have to do is gain some altitude. For most planets, it's typically around 10 kilometers where you can use your quantum drive. As you can see, I've just passed the threshold, spooling up. On the left, by the way, just a quick note, on the left is calibration, on the right is charge. See the green flashing bars? You need to have both of those full. So now that we are aligned and charged and calibrated, I'm going to press and hold mouse 1 for a short moment.
Quantum drive activated.
Quantum drive does tend to accelerate you to a ridiculous speed very quickly, and the game sometimes has trouble keeping up with that. So, we have now just traveled to Selen from Crusader. Now, I will say this, that was not a loading screen. That was not a transition phase or anything like that. That was literally just my FPS not being able to keep up with how fast we were going. That usually happens when you go to quantum from inside a planet's atmosphere. So, don't hold it too harsh against the game. It's more on my computer than anything. Anywho, notice on my little radar screen, there's a little gold bar pointed in a specific direction. That is telling me where I need to point. See? It's pointing towards our objective. That is the navigation thing. That's the route telling me where to go. If I bring up this, see? Telling us where to go. So, we have arrived at the moon, but in typical StarCitizen fashion, this is just generally a part of your quantum travel repertoire. This is what you will always be doing. You arrive at the planet, and then you do a shorter range quantum hop to the location. So we're going to hold mouse 1 again.
Quantum drive activated.
And you will notice that this quantum behaves a little differently. Instead of zipping from A to B across the great void of space, now we're just going around the planet. Now, some planets can be a little finicky about that, but I'll get into that later. For now, the quantum hop has deposited me within 40 kilometers of my destination. Now, this is technically unpoliced space. We are under the protection of the system's Intel network. Problem, that doesn't really mean much. It just means that if somebody attacks me, they'll get a crime stat for doing it. It's still up to me to defend myself. So, now that I'm out of quantum drive, I'm going to switch back over to SCM. That'll bring my shields up. And you'll notice up here on my holo, my shields are slowly coming back up. They could be going a little faster, so I'm going to put an extra pip of power into shields just to get those to charge that little bit quicker. See, got the quantum drive power system right there. Alright, our shields have reached full charge, which means that we can now take a punch without blowing up immediately. So, given we're going into combat with a ship that wasn't really made for combat, I'm going to leave that power pip in there. The 100 series ships, however, do have the advantage that they are natively extremely powerful. Origin is a very sporty company, so you can usually guarantee that their thruster systems are going to be quite high performance. To that end, I can take a power pip out of my engines without suffering too much of a drawback. And I'm going to use that power pip in guns. That also leaves me one free if I want to, put something elsewhere. So, I'll put it right back in engine. Right, so our weapons are now as powered as they can get. Notice how the little blocks there are more rigid and grayed out. That means that I can't really put that power up any higher. But these ones are lighting up. I could fill those with extra power if I wanted to. So, objective time. Because if you have noticed, I'm going to move out of the way here, I've got a little icon that looks like water drops. My character is getting thirsty very quick. So we need money. So let's get involved. So put the cruise control back on so that I don't have to hold W all the time. Now, the target isn't necessarily going to be exactly on the objective spot, so I'm going to switch my sub mode from guns to scanner. So in order to do this, I'm going to middle click. First, it switches into missile mode. Most ships have missile mode. Then I switch into SCN. I know that's confusing. SCM, SCN. SCN is scanner mode. You can see it's got that little radar glyph there, SCN there. By default, you can only do sensor pings in scanner mode. There is an option in the game options menu to unslave that, meaning that you can do a sensor ping in any mode. So I'm going to slow down a little here. I need to find my target. So in order to let out a sensor ping, I'm going to hit Tab. Notice how that's brought up a few unknown contacts. Given the contact over there is way out of range of the objective, and we're already passing it, that's likely not my target. There's also a contact up there, but I don't believe that is my target. gonna target status, velocity 0 meters per second, no faction data, unavailable. So that's probably just an abandoned player ship over there. Trust me, that's very common to come across in Star Citizen. Got another unknown. This is a thing, by the way. When you get like close enough to your target, or should I say your objective marker, it will often disappear. That doesn't mean the mission's broken, it just means you're in the mission's area of operation. Well, we've got an unknown in the region of our mission. Contact, and that's our guy. So we may be in a little bit of trouble here. He's in a Mustang. The Consolidated Outlands Mustang is a lot more combat-centric than the 100 series by Origin. So we're going to have to play this a little careful. There he goes.
Shields under attack.
Ouch. So I'm going to have to switch over to guns again. Oof, I have not done combat and cruise control in a long time. So what you want to do is you're trying to aim at that little lead pip. When you lock onto a target with the T key, it will generate that pip. So I'm having a bit of trouble hitting him right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch my gimbaling slave. Now my guns will try to aim where my V-Joy is. This can give you a lot more freedom in combat. This guy's shields are pretty tough, and my weapons are not all that great. We're landing hits. I think that might be a Delta, holy crap. For those of you who don't know, the Mustang Delta is a specifically combat-oriented ship. But he's taking the hits, and he is gonna go down. There we go. Cash in pocket. So what's just happened there is that ship's encountered what's called soft death. Basically, I've done enough damage to it that its systems can't really communicate anymore. So what that basically means is the power plant and the engines have been severed. Unfortunately for him, that means he's kind of gonna crash. So let's actually head down and take a look. Who knows, maybe there might be something we can salvage from it. That is, of course, if he didn't just, explode. Oh, I saw the smoke plume there. Let's see if we can find the wreck. Oh, yeah, I see it right there. Oof. Youch. Oh god, that's a piece of wing over there. Okay, ouch. Okay, so I don't want to ram into this guy. So this is actually a perfect time for me to explain another game system to you. I'm going to do something here. See that little HUD element that's moving for me right now? In order to do that, I use left shift, scroll wheel up and down. That is your speed limiter. When you're in cruise control like this, if you lower your speed limiter, it reduces the sensitivity of your cruise control. For close range flying like this, by the way, your panic button is X. If you press X on your keyboard, it zeroes out your zeroes out your speed, activates your space brake, brings you to a halt. Oh, pardon me. Oh man, I feel so bad for this guy. Oh, this is just the back end. Okay. Where's the rest? Oh, there's the cockpit over there. Okay. So I'm gonna put out my landing gear.
Landing gear deployed.
And to make sure I don't smash into the ground like this guy does, I'm going to put my thrust limiter down pretty low so that I can do small, gentle
Landing
thrust
complete.
bursts.
Engines inactive.
So this is a little trick that I often do. Most players in Star Citizen that I know of do this. When you land, shut off your engines. There are some old issues with Star Citizen, and most of us do it because of that. But what it generally means is if your ship takes off for whatever reason or winds up out of your reach, not on the ground, it means that your ship will fall back to the ground. Because if your engines are on, your ship will try and stay wherever it winds up. Yes, that does mean that if your ship suddenly gets krakened into the air, it will try and stay there. Oh, big oof. This guy came down hard. Yep, totally dead. On the upside, though, there does seem to be a hole at the back of the cockpit. Ah. Yep, nope. Wreckage is wrecked. The internal model is gone. This thing is completely irredeemable. Now, if I had one of those special tools I was telling you about earlier, I could actually take these guns, pull them off, and put them in my little cargo bay, and I could take them and sell them. So there's always something to be gained. Yeah, yeah. We're not doing salvage right now, though. So, now that we have taken down our target, I'm going to return to my ship. You don't need to check out your kill, by the way. That's just something I thought I'd show you that you can do, because sometimes they have neat stuff. Now, I was right. That is a Mustang Delta, so it doesn't have any cargo space whatsoever, which means there's really nothing more than the guns that we can salvage off of it. So let's get going and try not to die of thirst.
Launch complete.
Don't forget to raise the gear,
Landing gear raised.
and don't forget to push your speed limiter back up. Oh, is that not a cool sight? So, going all the way back to Crusader might be a bit of a pain in the butt, because that would involve A, going to the Crusader, like, gravity well, and then B, going all the way down to that atmospheric landing zone, which can take a little bit of time. Oh boy. Sorry, I haven't eaten today, so getting a bit hungry. There is something we can do to save a little bit of time. In orbit of Crusader, which I just double clicked on it there so I can center the camera on it. In orbit of Crusader, there is a place called Seraphim Station. So I'm going to plot a course to that.
Shield system inactive.
On the upside, this moon has a very thin atmosphere, so it's not going to take us long to get out of it. Here we go, calibrating. And jumping.
Quantum drive activated. Quantum drive deactivated.
Oh dear. It hasn't been entirely accurate with the jump. this is something that can happen, so don't panic. Just reacquire, recalibrate, and off you go.
Quantum drive activated. Quantum drive deactivated. Shield system active.
So, welcome to Seraphim Station. This is what we in Star Citizen call a LEO station, or low Earth orbit by NASA terms. Pretty much every major landing zone in Stanton has a LEO station orbiting its planet. This is taking a little while to get there, so I'm going to use my ship's boost to go a bit faster. As my character is getting rather direly thirsty here, as you can see. Boost has gone into the red. I'm just going to disable that before I completely burn out my afterburner. Which, I'll be frankly honest, I don't know what the drawbacks to that are. I think it just takes longer to recharge. Alright, so we are now at the station. Problem, all the hangar doors are closed. Now, what we can do is we can go to the communications, we can check out Seraphim Station and press hail, or just like when we took off, we can press left alt N to automatically hail. Now, Seraphim's a busy place, so it wouldn't surprise me if it puts us on a waiting list, but it has not. So we're just going to go straight to our hangar. Now, these hangars aren't allowed to be open forever, so don't dilly-dally. Once you get your hangar slot, go straight there. This is going to be one of those roof entrance hangars. And drop the gear. Since I'm now in an enclosed environment, I'm going to bring my, thrust limiter down. And touchdown. I don't know what is wrong with me today, but I think I might die. Alrighty. So, turn off the engines. Now, I'm also going to turn off power, but first I want to show you something. So, bringing up my mobi-glass here. Now that we've earned some money, we can do some cool stuff. We go to Landing Services, Refuel Quantum. This is kind of your big papa here. We haven't used a lot of Quantum, but I'm going to show you how to do it anyway. You hit the auto here. You can also manually choose how much fuel to refuel yourself by, but I always use auto. So yeah. Now that it says no service, we know that we are finished with the refueling process. Now you might think, oh, wow, that's remarkably convenient. But there's a notorious bug in the game that they claim they've fixed a dozen times and hasn't gone away. So I'm just going to give you a quick primer on how to deal with that. The bug is where you will refuel your ship, but there's a miscommunication between client and server, occasionally causing your ship to forget that it's been refueled. Unfortunately, it will still have charged you money for it. Oh, there's one of those, projectile impacts from that delta. So, in order to avoid this bug, when you do a quantum fuel refuel, what you want to do is you want to go to your services terminal, open up your ASOP.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System.
And
Your vehicle
store your
has
ship.
been moved to our storage facility. Please
By
visit
storing
us
your
again.
ship, you're basically saving its data to the server. At least I think that's what's going on anyway. So, right now, my current priority is my character is very thirsty, so we're going to deal with that. So there's a couple of cool things that you can do in order to deal with your character's thirst. So we're going to go with... I just got kidnapped by the elevator. One of those little Star Citizen bugs that can, in fact, happen. So just going to press lobby. Ignore me scrolling the list to the bottom. That's something I just do out of habit. Oh, by the way, you saw that right there? That wall hadn't loaded in. You could see through to space. Again, Star Citizen, early access. Be prepared for it. Unlike a lot of games where you can, walk into the area that isn't rendered yet, but, it's quote-unquote still there, so it's safe to do it. No, it is not. In Star Citizen, if you can't see it, it ain't there. If you walk into something that hasn't rendered yet, expect tomfoolery to ensue. I cannot stress that enough. Be patient. Ooh, that guy's got cool armor. So, in order to deal with hunger and thirst, I've got a couple of options. I could either go to that pizza joint over there, but I'm looking at it from here and I don't think they've got, what's it? I don't think they've got what I'm after. So instead, I'm going to come to these elevators over here. Now, every space station has this, the internal transit system, or interstation transit, according to this. Every space station has this. It's how you travel from one major zone in the station to another. Right now, we are at the hangars and habs area. We want to go to Galleria. So the cool thing about the Galleria is this is their shopping center on any station. So we already have run into a problem. How do we get to the food court? Where is it? Remember that thing I told you about the map showing you your layout? Like if I zoom out, boom. Yeah. But if I zoom all the way in, give it a sec, there we go. So cool thing about this is it shows you a real-time layout of the station's interior, at least the accessible area anyway. So from this, we can see there's Kasaba over there, that's a clothes shop. Oh, pardon me, ship weapons. Armor shop. But here's what we're after. Burritos, noodles, juice, noodles, food and drinks. There we go, that's gotta be the food court over there. So I'm gonna hang a left and follow this route there. Now, sometimes following a route, like I know some people can't do it by memory. That's nothing to be ashamed of, but Star Citizen's got you covered. One of the things that you can do is you can set little waypoints. So I want to go to that hot dog place. Now, I personally have never used this before, so give me a second to figure out how to do it. So, when you mouse over an accessible area, you have the ability to set a pin. Now, you can custom tag that and give it all you like and set, reminder locations and stuff. But what we're looking for is set route. So we've pressed R, the route is set, and the game is now guiding us to where we want to go. So I'm going to close off my map. You see my mini-map up on the top left? It's got that route. The best part is, look, it's even showing me how far away it is.
Hi there.
Ta-da! the hot dog joint. Now, I can't just walk up and take a hot dog and eat it. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, well, obviously that's theft. No, I'm talking about something else entirely. What we want to do is we want to have a little look around. There's some. We need to find our inventory terminals. Because right now, we're wearing a helmet, and I can't imagine it'd be good for my helmet's electronics if I try stuffing a hot dog through the rebreather. So I'm going to take off my helmet. I'm going to put it in my inventory.
Hey, welcome.
Hi there.
So, we've got some drinks over here, got some hot dogs. Oh, that's fun. Don't use that, that's a bug. Now, my personal favorite is the double dog. I would totally have these things if I could find somewhere that actually sells them. So, you just press mouse 1 to eat. Now, bear in mind, when you pick it up, I'll do it again. When you pick it up, it's in... this is basically inspection mode. So, moving my mouse around and I can take a look at it, you know, appreciate its model. It's all kind of, well, you get it. It's inspection mode. I'm pretty sure most of you people have played those shooters where you can check out your gun. So, just mouse 1, puts it to carry, mouse 1 again, munch. Job done. Now, that does good for hunger, but we're after thirst. So I'm going to buy my favorite brand, the standard pips. Same process again, you pick it up into inspect mode and press mouse 1. Now if you just tap mouse 1, your character will basically chug the whole thing. But notice in the corner there, my hydration level has gone up. Now, for the love of God, if the placement system is working, which it usually is, you press mouse 1, and in it goes! In the bin! It's literally right there. There are bins everywhere. Holy fuck, use them! So many players in StarCitizen just, like, drop their stuff on the floor when they're done with it. So, I'm going to show you something else that you can do. Instead of tapping mouse 1, I'm going to hold it. Which means the character's going to take a chug, let go. You can save drinks for later. Now, I'm going to finish this, and I'm going to bin it. Cool. So, that is a great system. It encourages you to keep on top of a needs system, which gives you a reason to move around, and it encourages exploration gameplay because you're, you know, you have to explore and find places where you can find food and stuff. But it's not always practical to keep coming back to a space station and... Hey! Welcome, first-time chatter. It's not always practical to keep coming back to the same space station over and over again to keep yourself alive, because, well, that can actually hinder your exploration. So I'm going to open up the map. I'm going to have a look around, because we're already in the Galleria, which is full of shops. So we've got an armor shop on board. Remember earlier in the video when I said that my current equipment didn't have any storage? Let's fix that, shall we? We did, after all, just earn some money doing a bounty contract. So I have set a route for the armor store, and we're going to head there. By the way, these are not decorations. These are vehicles you can own in the game. Alrighty, so here is the armor store, and already they've got a bunch of cool stuff on display. So you can interact with armor stores, and any store really, in a multitude of ways. You can have a look directly at stuff. I don't recommend the try on suit button, it can be a bit finicky. But if you press and hold the F key, as you can see on the holo to the left, you can buy it straight off the mannequin, and that will send it straight to your local inventory. Me personally, I like the look of this. The Field Recon gear. So this is the other way. This is the other way that you can, that you can interact with the store. Now, it can be a bit cumbersome because it throws everything all in your face all at once. As I have mentioned before with, with StarCitizen, be patient. Sometimes stuff takes a second to load. Has my avatar busted? My OBS frame rate has utterly cratered. I have no idea what's going on with my avatar right now. Give me a sec here. Bring up my avatar software. Okay, that's that fixed. I have no idea what just happened there. I hope that didn't screw with my audio or anything. Anyway, interacting with a shop is fairly easy. Most shops have these little terminals. They're colloquially known as kiosks. But yeah, they can be a little overwhelming. They throw a lot of stuff in your face right off the bat, so let's narrow that down. Before we can wear armor, we need an undersuit. Fortunately for us, if I go into third person here, we are already wearing an undersuit. You always start with a basic undersuit. But I don't want starter gear. So let's take a look at what we can buy. So we always start our new armor endeavors with checking out the undersuits. So there are a wide variety of undersuits that you can get a hold of, such as the TCS suit, the beacon suits. Word of warning about the beacon suits, by the way. They hold a bit of a stigma in StarCitizen. I'm not going to say what the stigma is called here on the stream. You can find that one out for yourself. Just in general, if you can avoid wearing a beacon suit, I would avoid wearing a beacon suit. You got the Venture suit. Got the Odyssey 2 suit, which is what we're currently wearing a variant of. Got Stone Skin, which is a variant on the TCS suit. And they come in a whole bunch of colors. We've also got Force Flex. So for now, I am going to settle with the TCS4 undersuit. So I'm going to hit Quick Buy, and that's going to send that straight to my inventory. However, one thing you can also do is you can hit the Buy button over on the right here, and it brings up a more complicated buy. So like if you want to buy in bulk, you can choose how many items you want to buy, and heaven forbid you want to buy 50 undersuits. Actually, no, I'm the leader of an org, so bulk purchases are something I am very familiar with. Not as rare as you might think. Anywho, one thing to remember, by the way, is destination. Right now, destination is set to Seraphim Station, so everything I buy, especially with Quick Buy, by the way, is going to go to Seraphim Station. So, we've got an undersuit. Staying on track here, we now want some armor so that we can store stuff on ourselves personally. So I am going to start with torso. Now, there's a lot of really neat armors in the game. At the moment, armor is very simplistic. It doesn't have much in the way of function. You basically just have your light, medium, and heavy armor, and they each offer different tiers of damage resistance while shaving off your agility. And you can see the damage reduction here. So you see heavy armor has a damage reduction of 40%. This is light armor with a damage reduction of 20%. Let's see if we can find a medium one. So yeah, here we have a medium one with a damage reduction of 30%. So, you know, wearing the right armor for the right job is going to be essential. There are no drawbacks to wearing the biggest, heaviest armor you can right now, aside from, you know, being huffing and puffing after you've sprinted for like a minute. That is very true, actually. The different armors do have different storage sizes. One thing to note as well is that if you die, anything in your inventory, your personal on you inventory, in your pockets, you will lose it. So there is a reason not to overpack your pockets. Me personally, however, I'm going to go with some basic stuff. I'm going to grab the Orc Mark X core in Woodland. I'm going to switch over to legs. I'm going to see if they've got my favorite leg armor. True Death Pro. Here we go. This is an armor I stand by. It may be a light armor, but I just love the look of it. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like it comes in a color that's really compatible with the color scheme that I want to go for, because I want to go for a sort of army green kind of look. So we're going to scroll back up and see if we can find something that matches. Matching armor, as far as I'm aware, doesn't really have any like big fancy impending like function in the game, but yeah, it's up to you. Style is entirely up to the player. Color, combination, it's all up to you. So here we got the Orc Mark X arms in Woodland. Gonna grab those. And a helmet. Let's see. They've got the A23 helmet. But matching my armor, the Orc Mark X helmet, medium armor, I'm gonna grab that. And last but not least, if you really want to pack on the equipment, your fastest, most reliable way to do that is getting a backpack. Now, be advised, backpacks do have limited compatibility. For example, the CSP-68M backpack here. One second. Pretty sure you don't want me coughing my lungs out in your ear. It's only compatible, this backpack is only compatible with medium and heavy armor. So if we were to wear light armor, we would not be able to attach this to our torso. Fortunately, we've purchased medium armor, so we can in fact get this backpack. So let's go and change into our new armor. So first thing we're going to want to do is find a inventory terminal. Unfortunately, they're not as common in the Galleria as some places. So I'm going to have a little wander around here and see if I can spot one. I did, however, just spot firearms store. Ah, there's one. Usually doesn't take you long to find one of these things. Got some spent munitions magazines, see what I mean? Like, literally. Storage, right there. Player could have just left these magazines in their storage. Nope, dump them on the floor. Alright, so let us change from our basic beginner outfit to our new military grade armor. It's pretty simple. You just drag and drop. And boom, new armor. So now I am impervious to all forms of physical damage. That was a lie. I'm in medium armor, so I can take a decent punch, but I still don't want to get caught down under sustained fire. So This is all well and great. I can now store stuff on my person. This comes in a multitude of formats. First off, I am going to get myself a firearm. So some armor stores do stock weapons. This is a if and maybe. It is entirely contextual and you can't count on this. But I'm going to pick up myself a S38 pistol. Why? Because I love the S38 and I stand by it, and I love the fact that this thing is sold basically everywhere. Now, we are also going to need ammo. Fortunately, StarCitizen isn't cruel. You don't have to remember calibers. You can literally just buy ammo in magazines intended for your weapon. So we got a S38 pistol, buy some S38 magazines. Now, I don't want to be sat here doing quick buy, so like I mentioned before, bulk purchase. I'm just going to hit 10, get 11 of these magazines, and buy. Job done. Not quite, though. So we're going to go back to our... Now, what's it? We'll go back to our inventory terminal. So, weaponry has slightly more specific slots. For example, got the slot here for my pistol. Now got it on my leg, which means I can equip it. Now, before you get any funny ideas of going all no Russian on some poor space station, remember, armistice zones in Star Citizen exist to prevent players from abusing their firearms. This is an unfortunate reality because we know you fools, and we know that some of you get bored and decide to do the stupidest shit to get yourself unbored. Anywho, let us continue. Got our magazines here. So I'm going to load myself up with magazines. Now, I've bought more magazines here than I could actually carry. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the rest of my magazines and I'm going to put them in my backpack. Cool part about that, you can reload your weapon from your backpack. They implemented this a few updates ago. It just takes a little longer than the magazines you've got attached to your torso armor. Now bear in mind, these attachment points come with the armor, so you change your armor, that stuff goes right back to your inventory. Now, we are armed and dangerous. You might be thinking, cool, we now have everything we need. Not yet. Remember that weapon store we saw? I'm going to take a run over there because it's got some supplies that we need. So, here we have... Ooh, it's a live fire. You good, bud? Alright, so we're going to go to a kiosk again. So these weapon stores carry a piece of equipment that you're going to really want. Got to go to MISC and see this stuff. These are survival essentials. We've got the med pen, or Hemazol. This thing is basically your med kit. If you take damage in the field, and my OBS is lagging again. Wait, is that OBS or is it just my avatar software? Might just be my avatar. Okay, you know what? My avatar is starting to lag out like crazy, so I'm just going to switch over to my 2D avatar and give my system a rest. Alrighty, so these survival essentials, which we'll bring back up here, are necessary to keep you breathing and functional in the verse. So, given we are wearing medium armor, that should give me, if memory serves, about 4 slots to hold these. So I'm just going to go here and I'm going to purchase, now this is me personally, you can chop and choose these however you like. I'm going to buy 3 med pens, Server's having a moment. And I'm going to buy a oxypen. The oxypen will refill your suit's oxygen reserves by a small percent. This can be a great way to save yourself from asphyxiation. Trust me, it may seem like a very rare thing to need, but I would rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it. Next up, I'm going to buy some ready-meal beef chunks. Now, I don't want to go back to that inventory terminal, so I'm actually going to set my location to my backpack. Cool thing about that, now, when I purchase these MREs, they go straight to my backpack. I'm also going to purchase 3 of these cruise water bottles, and again, straight to my backpack. I personally recommend Cruise. It's a bit broken at the moment. It resupplies your hydration and your hunger for some reason, and it does it a lot. So pretty much everybody in Star Citizen is addicted to Cruise. Now, I did purchase my med pens and oxypen before setting my storage location. So I'm going to run over here. And I'm going to equip my med pens to my person. Okay, so now I've got ammo. I have a firearm for self-defense. I have med pens to recover in case I get hit. And I've also got food and drink to last me a little while. Now I am highly autonomous, meaning I can go out into space for very long periods of time and stay there. Now I'm going to take a quick trip to the cargo center and show you something else that is very, very useful in this game. Rarely will you ever come across stuff that is lightweight enough for you to actually pick up with your hands. That is a function in the game, but it's, well, rare. So this is called a cargo center, and it's one of the most reliable places to get a hold of an essential piece of equipment called a multi-tool. So there it is, the Pyropite multi-tool. So I'm going to buy one, just like that. And what I want to get with it is the tractor beam attachment. So now that I have that, I can use that to lift objects that no normal human should be able to lift. It can also be used to pull off things like pieces of equipment and whatnot. So, got the multi-tool here. I'm going to pull it to my left leg utility slot. Now, here's a caveat. The multi-tool needs to have the tractor beam module installed. Now, I will put the tractor beam module in my backpack for now, but one thing you can also do is the weapon itself will have an attachment point on it, so you can drag the item from your inventory to the attachment point, but I'll show you a quicker way to do that when we get back to our hangar. Now, I know this has taken a really long time, but don't forget that once you know what you're doing, the average Star Citizen player will maybe spend 4 or 5 minutes doing this stuff and then beeline it back to their hangar. You know what? I have been stuck on 98% health for a while, and it has been doing my head in, so this is a great opportunity for me to show you another function of the game. Let's see if I can find it. There's an easy hab. That's kind of like the habs on the, on the planets, but it's not, well, on a planet. I'm going to go this way instead. I know I could be using my map to search around here, but me personally, I'm a bit old school. I kind of just look around myself. So this is a medical clinic. Kelto has these things on basically every station in Stanton.
Treatment now. Frosty Hydro
So
Frost.
what I'm going to do is I'm going to use patient
A
check-in.
treat everyone loves.
Welcome. Please proceed to room 8. Now, you remember that thing I told you about be patient? There's usually signage. This is where it comes into practice.
Medical concerns got you
So,
worried? Forget that stress.
rooms
Just
1 to
relax.
4. We're not looking
Everyone
for
here
that.
at Kelto RX is going to take great care of
Medical
you.
rooms. We are looking for this. So, let's follow this hallway, see where it leads.
Be sure to stop by our pharmacy
Rooms
for quality medicines
5 to
you
8.
need at a price you're going to love. Kelto RX.
There's room 5, which means by extension that would be 6, 7, and there's 8 right at the end of the hallway. Simple logic. Room 8. Press the door open button. Come in here and lie down. Now, once on this med bed, it will passively heal anything that is not an injury. And boom, 100% health. Now that didn't cost me a penny. However, as far as I'm aware, healthcare is one of those things that's a bit nebulous at the moment. Nobody's really sure whether or not it's going to cost money or not. But when you sustain injuries in the field, that will limit how much your health can recuperate. So that's when you really do need to make your way to a to a clinic or a hospital ship and see that your injuries are dealt with. In the worst of situations, where you take a bullet to the brain and you hit the lights out button permanently in StarCitizen, your character dying is not the end of the game. What you can do is you can respawn at one of these clinics. Normally, you will respawn at the clinic of your chosen home planet. So for me, I chose to start on Crusader for this instance, but my home planet for my character is a place called Microtech, so I would spawn on the hospital there. But I can change that. This Olympus Principal insurance system allows me to pick where I respawn. So as you can see, my current regen location is the Terra Gateway Clinic. My home residence is the primary residence facility, Brentworth Care Center on Microtech. That is my default. I can reset it to that from anywhere. This is the current location, Seraphim Clinic on Seraphim Station. If I hit Transfer Imprint, I will change my respawn location from Terra Gateway to Seraphim Clinic. So if I die, I would respawn here instead of Terra Gateway. But I like being based out of Terra Gateway, so I'm not going to do that. There's also this pharmacy. This is a shop that you can get a whole bunch of medical gear from. So, got a whole bunch of stuff here. Got med pens that do different things. I, on the other hand, I'm going to pick up this lifeguard medical attachment.
Forget that stress. Just relax.
And I completely forgot to set my
Kelto RX is going to take great care of you.
location. I can't be bothered going to another freaking inventory terminal, so I'm just going to buy another one. They're cheap anyway. Bear in mind, for this thing, you will need a lifeguard refill. So make sure to pick up both of these if you want one. The cool thing about it is that is a module for your multi-tool that basically converts your multi-tool into a med gun. I will show you more about that later, as soon as we get back to the hangar, that is. So, I have gotten an extra little piece of equipment there. You don't necessarily need a med gun, but it can be a handy thing to have. They last a lot longer than your med pens, and you can heal friends and teammates with them too. Notice how I didn't go to an ASOP terminal there? That is a part of StarCitizen. If you land at a station, your hangar is basically reserved. And we've done this again. There we go. Very loud. So, when you land on a station, your hangar is reserved, so you can basically get back to it without having to go to an ASOP terminal. When you log in, if you're not on your home planet, then you'll probably have to call a ship to get the ASOP terminal to... get the ASOP terminal to get you a hangar. It's one of those things that I kind of wish that they would put on, put on their list of stuff to do, is ASOP terminals being able to call a hangar without calling a ship. Anyway. So. When it comes to your multi-tool, which I can bring up here, the multi-tool doesn't really do anything on its own. So what I'm going to need to do, if I'm remembering the key right, I think it was J. Yeah, there we go. So the key is J. I'm going to select the attachment point. Now notice that we've got the tractor beam attachment here and the medical attachment. So if I select that, press J again, now it produces a beam. That beam is the tractor beam, and I can use that to lift and move stuff around, as well as use it to yank equipment off of ships. Handy, right? But I don't see myself doing that in the immediate future, so I'm going to put that back and equip the, here we go, medical attachment. Because I don't want to be caught with my pants down in the middle of a firefight. Because the medical attachment technically needs that green healing goo, you also need to attach the lifeguard refill to it. Once you've done that, notice that the user interface has changed. So I can heal myself. It'll also give me some limited stats on my vitality, so it looks like I am uninjured, full health. Blood toxicity level, which is that thing on the right there, is currently 0, and I'm running about 60 BPM in heart rate. There's a whole gameplay loop surrounding medical. There's some stuff to master, some medicines to get to know. It's pretty cool if you like doctor gameplay. If I don't point it at myself, however, I can use it on someone else. So, caveat, this is not a Cure Life med gun. It is not as efficient, it is not as detailed. It is an industrial alternative, and that has its drawbacks. But it's good enough for now. So let's call our ship.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System.
Here we are.
Your vehicle has been delivered. Please visit us again.
So,
Goodbye.
I've just spent all my money. I'm back to square one. I'm broke, with nothing but a ship and some equipment. So let's try taking another job. This time, I'm going to take a slightly different term of job. I'm going to take a haulage job. This is kind of your bread and butter in Star Citizen. Pretty much every ship you can think of can carry cargo. Caveat is how well it does it. Ideally, you want ships with cargo grids. So this one's tempting. We've got 90k, solar, small cargo haul. But it's more than we can carry. Because we would need to collect pressurized ice, and by the looks of it, that's 12 SCU. And we've also got here 9 SCU. Not good. If you remember when we were poking about inside our ship's cargo hold, it said we can only carry 4 SCU, so that is very bad. We're going to find a different job. Also not good. Good. That was tempting, but not good. So we're going to have a look for extra small. 6 SCU. So tempting, but let's see if we can find something better. Nope, too much. Okay, so I am going to grab this one since it's the closest. So accept that offer. So we need to collect silicon from Crusader L1 Ambitious Dream and deliver it to Crusader L4 Shallow Fields. Now, obviously, we're not on that station, so let's hop in our ship and get going. Problem with setting a route in the galaxy map, by the way, is you can't do it unless you're in the cockpit of your ship. Ta-da! So,
Origin Jumpworks at your service.
I'm going
Core
to
system
bring up my map.
operational.
We still have our previous destination logged in, so I'm going to cancel that. And when you have a contract, this will appear. It is a quick way to get the data on your contracts. So I'm going to select my collect shipment location and hit route. Nice, quick, and easy. So turn on the engines.
Active. Quantum fuel, 100%.
And request takeoff. Yep, there's the Curse of Seraphon. Now, if you don't mind, I am going to switch over into non-coupled flight. That's how I am comfortable
Landing
flying.
gear raised.
So, the hangar queue. I guarantee you, when you start playing Star Citizen, you're going to bump into this at least once. Busy places like Port Olisar are pretty notorious for this sort of thing. It just means that currently all the hangars are in use, either opening, closing, or waiting for somebody to arrive or depart. The wait time for it is usually fairly short. It's been a long time since I've had to wait for more than two different positions. You can avoid this sort of stuff by sticking to the less trafficked areas, but that sort of knowledge comes with experience. So, yeah, don't be afraid to play Star Citizen and learn out where it is busy and where it isn't busy. And someone's dragging their heels. It can be pretty easy to let yourself start thinking that it's bugged. Trust me, it's rare. There we go. As I keep saying, patience. That's a problem. Collect shipment is obstructed by planet.
Shield system inactive.
Fortunately, my route has found me a way. I'm about to jump to what's called an orbital maneuvering node, by the way. Most planets have 6 of these, 1 at each polar cap, and 1 at each of the major azimuth corners.
Quantum drive activated. Quantum drive deactivated.
It's basically how you get around a planet at close range.
Quantum
Okay,
drive activated. Quantum
tell you what,
drive
I will show you.
deactivated.
So I just jumped away. So looking back at Crusader here, you see the orbital maneuver nodes? We got the, what's it? Got the azimuth nodes. There's one over there that we can't get to because that's on the far side of the planet. But you can use orbital maneuvering nodes to get yourself around a planet quickly. Very helpful stuff. Okie dokie. What? Why is it saying that we can't get there? That's weird.
Quantum drive activated.
Anyway, we are underway. So now we're doing more than just going from a planet to a moon. That kind of travel typically only takes seconds. But when you start traveling around the wider system at large, it starts to take a little longer. But tell me, is this not cool? Eh? I don't know about you, but that's one of my favorite parts of Star Citizen right there. Alright, so I'm going to switch my sub mode from quantum to flight. I'm still in nav mode technically, so I do still have access to that much higher speed, but I gotta be careful, my shields are down. I should note as well, I'm no longer flying in coupled mode. I mostly did that to show you how to do it. Me personally, I fly in uncoupled, and I'll explain that in a future video for more advanced flight. Be warned, when you're not in coupled mode, you are solely responsible for all of your ship's thrust impulses. Alrighty, let's request docking. Coming in a little fast there. Alright, let's get turned around and park next to this freight elevator. Whoa!
Landing gear deployed.
Man, the ship is twitchy.
Landing complete.
Alright,
Engines
as
inactive.
usual, thrusters off. Better safe than sorry, folks. So, we have taken a haulage job. This means that we are responsible for taking someone else's belongings from A to B. So, this is the Freight Manager Terminal. It is a very important tool for cargo haulers. I have just done what's known as sending the elevator down. You need to do that to gain access to the warehouse. So, here's my contracted cargo. Drag it, swap it over, raise elevator. So, I will show you what that does. Here we go. here is our mission quarry. So, problem. Too heavy to pick up. Remember what I said earlier? But, fortunately, we have come prepared. So, I am going to reconfigure my multi-tool here. Unequip the medcan and equip the tractor beam module. Now, this tractor beam is your best friend. Oh, what's it doing? I swear it doesn't do this normally. Tractor beam attachment. There we go. I think it got bugged. So, we will pick up our crate. Kind of hoping there's enough space to get it in there. So, see that little hologram that was popping up? That is the result of the cargo grid. It's a system in StarCitizen that allows cargo to be secure to the ship, so you can pull high-G maneuvers without it going flying around and damaging stuff. I'm pretty sure at least some of you have been in a car when Granddad pulls a high-G turn going around a intersection or something, and then watched his can of Coke go flying across the dashboard. The cargo grid prevents that. So, not a lot of space to work with here, but doable. Now, you might have noticed that there are more boxes here than I can actually carry in my cargo grid. There is a solution. Oh, whoops. I feel a bit like Syndrome. You know, when he was, when he was monologuing to Mr. Incredible after catching him in his 0-point energy. You know, he was monologuing, and then he did the whole, like, fling his hand in the air as he was doing a big grand gesture. And then a moment later, he realized he'd just flung Mr. Incredible across the island. Yeah, the tractor beam can be a little bit like that, so be careful with it. You know, small incremental movements. You can also use the scroll wheel to push stuff away or pull it closer. If the tractor beam goes red like that, it will shut off. Now, you might be immediately inclined to just aim and mouse 1, right? But look, nothing happened. That is because when the tractor beam loses connection, it technically hasn't shut off. So, that's I'm pretty sure that's just a, that's just a bug with server-side communication. But don't worry, your your multi-tool / tractor beam isn't broken. You just need to press mouse 1 again so that the server reads it as shut off, and then you can grab stuff again. Alright, so we have loaded our cargo bag. So I'm going to close that up. Now, we still have 2 crates. We could do 2 trips, or I could be cheeky. Remember how I said that the cargo grid secures your cargo and prevents it flying around under high-G maneuvers? Well, that is not strictly necessary. Behold, I can fit an additional box inside the ship. This is very dangerous. If my ship were to hit high Gs or I were to pull some like crazy stupid maneuver, there's a possibility that these things could come loose, fly about the cabin, and do damage. I'm gonna see if I can stuff this last crate in here. This is highly unrecommended, by the way. Like, any cargo hauler worth his salt will have their own little ways of stacking stuff in a ship. Now, I am going to have a quick look and see if this will work. I don't know if it's going to be big enough, though. It's only for like 1/8 SCU. Oh, oh, it is big enough. Haha, cool. Awesome. That paid off. So, whereas our cargo hold is telling us 4 SCU, turns out our ship could actually hold 6 SCU. How about that? So, the point I'm trying to make here is know your ship. Do not be afraid to take some time and just explore it. Get to know its little quirks and all the little things that it can do, because you never know what you're going to find. Lots of ships have all sorts of neat little features that you have to find by exploring them. So, we've now got our cargo safely stowed on board. I could have left the crate right there in the canopy if I wanted to, but I prefer to have things bolted down. Engines on.
Active.
Request undocking.
Launch complete. Landing gear raised.
And out we go. Do be mindful of your wingspan, by the way. Some ships, like, they need to wait for the doors to open wider. Anywho, I'm going to do what's called a eyeball quantum jump. We've already got a marker showing us where we're supposed to go, so why go to the trouble of plotting a route? So I'm gonna... Oops.
Shield system inactive.
My bad, I forgot we were in nav flight mode. So, why bother going to the trouble of making a route when I could literally just point and click?
Drive activated.
Great part about StarCitizen is there's usually multiple ways to approach any problem. So, 17 gigameters. This is going to take us a pretty second or two to travel. Let's see. So normally when you set a route, over here it will tell you how long, pardon me, it will tell you how long it will take to go from A to B along the route that you have projected. We have done a eyeballed route, which means the flight computer doesn't know where we're going exactly. All it knows is we've given it a direction, we've gone to quantum. So it's just telling us the distance. So that's one of the upsides to creating a route, is you can get a time frame for how long you'll be at flight for. If you don't like how long your ship takes to make a quantum jump, there is options. You can upgrade things like your quantum drive to be faster, and I will explain that in a future, a future video. Well, stream, video, stream. Vidian? Streetio? Nope, not doing that again. Anywho, we should be arriving at our destination in a few moments. Let's just check on distance. Yeah, 2 gigameters out. Origin 100 is a quick little bugger. As you saw before, though, it's not particularly potent in a firefight. Ironically enough, this particular iteration of the 100 series is the light freighter version. Normally, the 100i doesn't actually have that, that special cargo space at the back. Hmm? Oh, that's right, I've still got my thrust limiter engaged. So, we have arrived at the destination station. I don't want that ringing in my ears, so I'm going to go back to nav flight mode. Notice, by the way, that this station has a different layout to the last one. A lot of these stations are quite unique. They're built from the same part set, but they have different internal layouts, different hangar counts. This one is very small. Actually, I'd say it's almost adorable as far as space stations go. Got a little bit of pop-in, pop-out going on there. That's unfortunate. But again, Star Citizen is an early access title. So that is not our hangar, but I am going to request landing. And it's given us a hangar over there. Now, I have, I'm going to say memories of a past time when it comes to these gravity rings, so I'm just going to avoid that thing personally. You can fly through them if you want to, but I personally avoid them. Right, so let's land next to this freight elevator, just like we did last time. Notice that the hangar is pretty much the same layout. These are industrial hangars. They all typically follow the same pattern of construction.
Landing gear deployed.
And like a good girl, I am shutting off my engines. Never forget that. So, let us unload the cargo. Hey. Get that, and oh dear. So here is an important part of cargo handling. Pressing and holding R allows you to rotate cargo. Sometimes cargo can be a bit finicky, and you'll need to put it at a certain angle to get it to play nice. I'll show you all of the controls for handling your cargo in just a second. Man, someone did not think this design through. There we go. And we did that again. Uh-oh. Come on, out you go. There we go. Cool. Typical controls for cargo rotation. Hold R and you can, what's it? You can roll rotate it with standard mouse input, or you can scroll wheel to rotate it on, what's it? On a more two-dimensional axis. So important note about these. Oh, hello. Welcome to the chat. I am fine, thank you very much. So important note about these cargo missions is you can't just take the cargo to the station and dump it in the hangar and say job done. They actually expect you to, put it into their logistics system. So I'm going to unload my ship. Now I'm going to put the cargo on the freight elevator. Now, it may seem like loading and unloading cargo takes a while. It can, especially when you start getting more cargo. Be advised that the gameplay loops in Star Citizen are not built for general enjoyment. They are built tailored towards the people who will gravitate towards them and really enjoy the gameplay loop itself. So hauling cargo, as you might expect, is made for people who enjoy hauling cargo. They enjoy logistics, they enjoy number crunching, stuff like that. Just like how combat has a number of systems specifically tailored to people who really enjoy combat. I don't really stream on a schedule, unfortunately. So I do when I do, and when I'm not, I don't. Anywho, getting back to the task at hand. Now that we've put the cargo in the cargo elevator, very simple. Come up here and lower the elevator. Now you'll get this when you have contracted cargo in your elevator. It's a good way to tell how much how much stuff is in and whether or not you're missing anything. But we were told to bring 6 SCU containers. We've got 6 out of 6. That's all good. Confirm. Transfer it to warehouse. Down it goes. Now watch over here. Job complete. Paycheck. That's another 50 grand to play with. So, we have now made money through 2 different gameplay options in the game. We have learned how to quickly get through the process of wake up and get to gameplay. And I wanted to show you one more thing before I call it quits today. Do you remember when I shot down that Delta and went to go explore its crash site? There were a couple of guns on a little pintle on its nose. The guns are pretty similar to these ones here. Okay. This is that gold standard I was telling you about, by the way. Unfortunately, my 100i is not up to the gold standard. But, fret not. I do have something neat
Welcome
for this
to the
situation.
ASOP vehicle retrieval system.
So, this is actually a good opportunity for me to show... Oh,
Please visit us
okay,
again.
we're not fully on the pad. This is one thing that is worth noting, by the way. Parking your ship properly does actually have an important, an important element in the game. Right now, the ASOP terminal doesn't know our ship is here because some part of our ship isn't properly lining up with the hangar. We're outside the safety zone. So I'm just going to move my ship here. Job done. The problem with the ship being outside the safety zone is if you can't store your ship, then technically your ship is out in the cold. Even though it's inside a hangar, that's not the way the game's code works. These hangars are instanced on a per-player basis and semi-permanent. Note, semi-permanent. These hangars
Welcome
do have
to
to
the
be
ASOP
shut
vehicle
off for the
retrieval
sake of
system.
server capacity. So now that we've relocated the ship, note that it now recognizes it as on the pad, so I'm
Your
free to
vehicle
store
has
the
been
ship.
moved to our storage
This will
unit.
preserve the ship in its current state, as well as any cargo on board. If you just leave your ship out, then eventually it will be impounded, and that could result in you having to claim your ship, which is actually what I'm going to show you now. So I actually have a Mustang Delta to show you. This is a great way to show you the claim system. In the event that you lose your ship, all is not lost. You can go to the ship that you've lost and hit this button here, Claim. It will tell you where your ship is located, if it knows where it is, otherwise it'll just say unknown. The vehicle you are claiming, and the time it will take to deliver said vehicle. So right now it says the Mustang Delta will take 4 minutes to deliver if I file a claim.
Your
I'm going to
insurance
file a
claim
claim.
has been sent.
So even though my Mustang Delta was on Terra Gateway, it's being brought here. Now, that's not, this I cannot stress enough, That is not that they are bringing my Mustang Delta here. Terra Gateway is deciding, or is basically being told, okay, an insurance claim has been filed on a ship that you have. So it's yours now. Do with it what you want. The insurance company is providing me a new Delta. They're going to deliver it here. If you do this, if you claim your ship rather than go to it and collect it, anything you've stored on your ship, any loose items, anything in its inventory, any cargo, will be lost permanently. There will be no getting it back. I cannot stress this enough. When you claim a ship, you get a new one, not your one. So, next up, we have expediting. Not every ship takes 4 minutes to summon. For example, I have a ship in my inventory that takes 3 hours to claim. So we have the expedite feature. As you can see here, the expedite fee is currently ticking down because the delivery time is ticking down. And the expedite time is usually a fraction of the delivery time. Now we've already gone down in the delivery time enough that expedite would now be instant, and the cost is yet still ticking down. I'm not going to wait 2 minutes for my Delta. I'm impatient, so let's pay
Your
the
vehicle
expedited
has
fee.
been moved
After
to a
all, we just
storage
made money,
facility.
that's what it's for. So, Mustang Delta is now here. I can now hit retrieve,
Your vehicle has been delivered. Please visit us again.
and a brand new Mustang Delta will be delivered to my hangar in my ownership. Now, I should note, I already owned this ship. You do not get ships that you shoot down. I just thought it'd be kind of neat to show you since, I've already got it here. So, those of you who were here during the early stream will remember when I shot down that NPC Mustang Delta, and when it crashed and the poor thing's cockpit came clean off, it was sitting there on the ground and it had a turret just like this one. One of the things that you can do once you have a little tractor beam is you can collect items, or at least you're supposed to be able to. Let me see here. Oh, you know what?
Welcome.
Mustang Delta's
Your
pretty
journey
old,
begins
actually.
now.
This ship might not be up to gold standard. So the thing I'm trying to show you cannot be done on this particular ship. God dang it. Okay, that puts a bit of a spanner in the works. But if I were to hypothetically talk you through the process, when you have a salvaged ship, you can use detach mode, which you can see on my, what's it, over here where my hints are. You can see detach mode is right click. Now, normally what you can do when a ship is up to gold standard anyway, you can use detach to pull an item off the ship. You'll get a special little UI to show you which direction to pull it, and it will pop right off its mount. Now, the neat thing about that is ship weapons and ship components, they can be placed on a cargo grid just like cargo. So you can haul it along with you, or you can just stuff it in any old room on your ship. But you can haul it along with you, and if you find somewhere that is selling said item, they will pay you for it. Word of warning, if you try to sell an item to a shop that does not stock said item, they're not interested in it, they don't think they'll turn a profit, so they won't pay you much for it. So, sell where things are sold. And doing that, you can make just a little extra money on your jobs. So, that is it for my Part 1, Getting Started on Star Citizen tutorial. I will do a few more of these in the coming days, and I will show you various aspects of Star Citizen from simple to advanced that will get you into the game, get you going, and get you capable and ready to learn the game on your own, arming you with the tools you need to survive in the verse. Now, as for the stream, my usual plugs, if you want to follow me on my Twitter, you can scan the QR code in the top left corner of my screen. That will take you to my Twitter account where you can get all sorts of updates on me schizo ranting and when I'm about to go live. I also always mention when I'm going live on Twitter. There is also the opportunity to participate in things like little polls and stuff. Don't have a Discord yet. Not enough popularity, not enough demand for it. But if you're interested, feel free to let me know. Next up as well is my YouTube channel. All of my videos, all of my content is archived on YouTube. You will see a link to that at the end of my stream. The biggest thing that I want to stress, though, about Star Citizen is be patient. I've said it a few times across the stream. Cannot stress this enough. Star Citizen is not Call of Duty. You cannot rush it. It doesn't play like your average first-person shooter. Be willing to learn. Anyway, thank you for watching. I hope this video helps you. If you're new, then hooray. If you're old, maybe you learned something that you didn't know before. Anywho, I will be signing off there. Thanks for watching, goobers, and I will see you in the next video.